I want to touch briefly on the idea of contingent purchases.
Ooh, this is common. What are we really talking about when we say contingent sales?
So
this is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
a buyer wants to buy your home, but they have to sell their home first. And so they're writing their offer on your home contingent upon their home selling.
Sure, okay.
And so sometimes that sale, the seller will accept the deal based on that already being in escrow already, or it's in the process, or maybe they'll accept it without that.
I'm just promising I'm going to sell it to be able to buy your house.
Right,
Sure.
right. And so there's limitations, there's time frames to deal with, but sometimes this is what cancels a deal because that home never does sell. They can't sell their
or
home.
It gets delayed in its sale, sure.
It might get delayed. And so sellers and buyers, this gets really complicated in terms of negotiating that, because the buyer's already going to commit to perhaps spending some money on an inspection and an appraisal for that matter.
Yes.
Right.
And if they're going to put some money into the deal, they want to get that, they want to be able to buy that house.
Yes.
But if they can't sell their house in a timely manner, this is where the conflict comes in, and perhaps they lose the deal. It does happen sometimes that they end up losing the deal. Now, most of the time we can get the seller to wait a little while, but sometimes that buyer of that house has to lower the price on their house to get the deal done. And they're leveraged into the position where they got to take whatever's offered at that point, or they're going to lose the house.
Yeah, they're trying to get time, right? They want something to happen quickly rather than the normal pace and this sort of thing. And then you can add the other layer, which is I'm selling you my house, you're selling your house, but now I want to go buy another house.
Yeah, the domino.
I need my house to sell so I can go buy the other house.
It happens all the time.
Yes.
And I've been involved in transactions where there are 3 or 4 in a row that had to tumble in order for my client to get their deal done. Right. And it happens.
This is very normal right now. We're in that type of world today.
It is happening.
There was a moment when it was a seller's market and this kind of thing was very much poo-pooed.
Sellers wouldn't consider it because they didn't need to.
Right.
Right.
Now they might want to because their house isn't going to sell otherwise, because that's the nature of the market. But they have to be real careful now because houses are sitting on the market longer.
Right.
Prices are not going up like they were. So they have to be mindful of what that buyer's house is doing, and they're going to look carefully. Is it priced right, or is it a good deal? Where are you in the process? Before I agree to do a contingent sale, I want to make sure this buyer is going to get that home sold. I don't want to take my home off the market for you if I don't believe you're actually going to get that home sold.
So I'm doing that as a seller?
Yeah.
But I'm the actual analyzing if my house, if your house is being sold at the right kind of price, whether it's an attractive house. Isn't it my realtor that's doing this for me?
Well, my realtor is the one who's advising me on this, but it's my call. I mean,
my decision. Yes.
Yes, but my realtor better be advising me on this. Hopefully, and those of us who've done this a few times will advise you on that. So let's take a look at it from a seller's perspective. First of all, a contingent offer is strike one against the buyer. It's strike one. Right off the bat. It takes away some leverage that the buyer may have had otherwise, because it's not a guaranteed deal. We don't have a buyer fully committed to our property yet. So are we willing as a seller to take that house off the market for this buyer?
Right. It's not an unencumbered transaction.
Is it the first line of a strike, or is it a full-blown strike?
No, that's a strike.
It's a strike.
It's a strike. Wow. That's a strike one. And you don't want 2 or 3. Well, I mean, it depends on the market too. Market conditions will dictate how big a strike that is. Yeah. Because if it's a buyer's market and I got no choice in the matter, and this is the only offer I've gotten in 6 months, I'm gonna play.
Right.
I'm gonna want to play.
Right.
But if I just been on the market for 2 weeks and I've had some interest and some showings, I might be a little more reluctant to work with somebody who's writing a contingent offer. So it depends on market conditions, and the market conditions are specific to me, to that neighborhood, to that house. And but we're going to look at overall market conditions. That's the first thing. So the seller's going to evaluate it. So I always tell buyers, when you're writing a contingent offer, I want you to know that, look, that's strike one. Just so you know, we lose the ability to maybe negotiate stronger on price and other elements because of our current market conditions. That's depends on market conditions, and it depends upon the price we're trying to deal with, and so forth and so on. But it is a negative for a seller right off the bat. So some sellers are like, Harv, nope, don't want any contingent offers, don't even want to mess with it, don't want to play. If they're not ready to buy, tell them to come back when they're ready.
And that segment of potential buyers may or may not matter, and depending on the marketplace.
Exactly right. Depends on current market conditions. That's a very big play. Now, so as a seller, yes, I want to know from the buyer's perspective: is that house on the market? Is it in escrow? Is it priced right? Is it in a neighborhood that's not moving right now? What's the activity? So my listing agent is going to go digging into your listing and make sure that it's viable, that this is even going to possible. So if your neighborhood's selling at 775 and all the comps, and you're listed at 975, we're probably not going to want to work with you.
Sure.
I exaggerate for that purpose, but I want you to understand that's what we're going to do.
Let me. I want to take you a different direction real quick, which is to say, I'm a potential buyer who's selling my house to buy your house. Am I required to make it contingent in the transaction? Am I required to tell you that I'm selling a house in order to buy your house?
Only if you're financing.
Well, no, you are, and I'll tell you. I mean, look. The question comes up on the sheet on our RPA.
Yeah, on your standard
You're going to say
contract?
yes or no. So you have a choice. Are we or are we not contingent? And so if you mark no,
yes,
and say you go through your diligence and you're getting through and then you're about 2 weeks before closing and yours is not going to close on time, you could lose your earnest money.
Valid.
You're exposed in a way that you don't necessarily want to be. Now, you might want to roll that dice as a buyer.
If you're only requiring $1,000 in earnest money from me,
right?
I may be willing to gamble with that $1,000.
That's right. That's a possibility. It does. It can happen. It's deceptive. It's not really. It's not. I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
I don't recommend it
that way, right?
But can you do it? Yeah, you can. You can, but it's might get you in trouble. That's the thing. It could get you in some trouble,
right.
And it might theoretically. The contract basically says the seller's can only get your earnest money. That's as most they can get out of you. So so you're kind of protected with that. So that's a possibility. But look, you've already spent time, money, and effort. The seller does not have to close the deal. The seller doesn't have to grant an extension. The seller could say, you know what? Okay, go away. I'm taking your $1,000. Leave me alone.
Normally,
I'm not happy with you.
Like I didn't break the law because I didn't tell you.
No,
right?
But you haven't been truthful with me. You're not
forthcoming.
Yes, you're not forthcoming. You're not being honest. Yeah. You're not negotiating in good faith in my mind as a seller. So I'm going to say, yep, I'm going to take your $1,000. See you later. And
so if I'm a potential buyer of your house and I want to write an offer. I'm not going to make it contingent, but I am selling a house and making this happen.
Right.
You want me to disclose that to you somehow?
Absolutely. Now, the other thing that sometimes a buyer would do then is maybe they create a bridge loan. They would do something in order to offset it. They have a plan B in place should that house not sell in a timely manner.
My rich uncle will front me the cash.
Right.
Yeah,
figure out a way to get that money into the new house before you get the money from the old house. Figure out a way to get that done.
Right.
Have a plan B. If you have that plan B, do it. Go ahead. I say go for it. Okay. Because as long as you have a way to get the deal closed, great. I don't want you losing your earnest money, even if it's only. I don't want. My job as your buyer's agent is to protect you from losing that money. That's part of my job, I think. And so I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to expose yourself. Now, if you say I don't care, like you said, only $1,000, I don't care. Let's roll the dice and see what happens. Yeah, we could try it.
I like this house enough. Baller. Let's go for it.
Yeah, yeah. But look, I mean, contingent offers are more prevalent now. They were non-existent for years because sellers had all the leverage. But now buyers do have some possibilities. And look, but when you do this as a buyer, I want you to know something. When number one, it does weaken your offer, as I said, strike one. It also potentially puts you in a position where if you don't get this house, you've just wasted a lot of time, money, and effort on your own part.
Yeah, the reality there, is the new house that you're buying, that one could fall out for whatever reason.
Indeed.
May fail an inspection or appraisal, or you just change your mind. Now I'm still committed to sell my house. I have to go somewhere probably. Right.
Yeah, and that transition is often tricky sometimes. And as an agent, I'm going to walk you through the possible.
Creates a lot of stress for people.
There's plan Bs always. We talk about that. I talk about the gap and the overlap. Either you're gonna have a period of time where you don't have a house. There's a gap, or you're gonna have a period of time where you own two houses, and that's the overlap. So we're going to talk about that and how we can avoid that and how we can put you in a position where if it does happen, you're not going to get creamed. You're not going to be out in the cold, and you're not going to have to spend so much money that you're going to get hurt. So we talk about that as part of our plan and our strategy moving from one home to the next. It's always when anybody's moving from one home into another, selling one and buying one, it's always that challenge of trying to make those dates match up. And we try to make sure that they do, and we protect our clients as best we possibly can.